Hey, sorry it's taking me so long to come out with the next video, but we're going to jump right back in by clicking on a computer in Sims 4 and clicking on MC Command Center. I will go ahead and go to MC Cast right quick. There's only a couple things I want you to see here. One of them is set celebrity walk style. So if you find a celebrity walk style to be annoying, you can disable it. They automatically get that, higher than thou walk style as soon as they become a level 4 celebrity. So if you don't like that, then you can disable it here. It's by default enabled. So there you go for that. And you have to worry about seeing that walk style every time you see a level 4 celebrity. There's an option to change walk styles if you want to do that, but that is not why we are here. So we're here for the offspring option. What it does is it will allow you to use the parent's physical attributes when deciding what physical features a child will have on aging up. So that means things like they can inherit their face shape, noses, things like that, including like what their fit fat settings are. You would like them to do that. So if you have a sim that is on the bigger side, then that sim is more likely to inherit that upon aging up into a teenager. You can have it use this parent's skin details. So it may use freckles, moles, or creases, any face creases or anything you are using in skin detail category or a sim on the child. If you hate the blue, green, or purple colored babies, then you can go ahead and enable this, and this will prevent those shades of children being born. I don't mind this, especially for my alien sims, but if you hate that, then go ahead and enable this, and they'll prevent that from happening. Do you want it to use parent skin tones? So if you enable this, all it does is causes the child to be born with one of the parents' custom skin tone colors if you have a custom skin tone on one of the parents. So that's all that does. All right, that's it for that. So I would just go through this and kind of decide how much like your parents you want your children to be in the game, and also how much of the custom content you want your children to inherit from the parents. One thing we're gonna look at over here is exclude traits. So if you know that there are just certain traits that you don't want any sims in your world to learn, then you can go here and disable those traits. Like if you don't want any sims to be animal enthusiasts for whatever reason, then you can click on this and no sims will be generated with the animal enthusiast trait. Age up with animal enthusiasts in your worlds. The only time that this may not work is when that trait is necessary for a certain role. So there you go for that. If you just know that certain things that you just don't want sims to ever be. All right, let's go back. Let's get out of cast. All right, so next up is an important one, which is MC career. Of course, first thing is bypass play household. You should always have this enabled to bypass play household. By default, for some reason, this one is disabled. So go ahead and enable it to bypass played households. So this is difficulty adjustment. I told you anytime that it is a difficulty adjustment, it is always going to be a range of -50 to 10. And negative numbers or numbers lower than the default value will always make it harder or slower to progress in whatever it is. In this situation, it is career progress. Positive or numbers higher than the default value, which is usually 0, will always make it easier to progress in whatever it is. And we won't go over what adjustment is anymore. Just know that it's to make it easier for you to, more difficult for you to do something. And in this case, it is career progress. So how easy it is for you to be promoted in that career. I left that set at 0, but if you feel like you want to be able to be promoted faster, then go ahead and bump that up. I feel like it's already too easy. Most people probably want to make this a negative number to make it a little bit more difficult to progress in a career. All right, next up is children quit school. So I left it at the default, which is disabled, but I know there are certain storylines where you may want children to be able to quit school, including maybe you have a storyline where children is working on a farm, they help out the family, blah, 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 blah. Whatever your storyline may be, that requires children to be able to quit school. Neighborhood stories. So same as usual, if you have neighborhood stories on along with MC Command Center, then you might want to go ahead and enable this so that way they can work together. But if you have neighborhood stories deactivated, then you don't have to mess with that. All right, next up is school homework progression. So this is a pretty big one. The way that this is calculated is a bit differently from a lot of other things in MC Command Center. So it has a value of -3 to +50, giving you more options with the positive numbers here. Of course, anything lower than default, it makes it harder or slower for homework to be finished. And then anything above the default makes it easier. The calculations for this is basically 10 is about 1/4 of the normal homework speed. So 10 is about 75% faster for homework. I have mine set at 5 to make it 50% faster. So all you need to know as far as the calculation is 2.5 divided by whatever number you put here would be how fast your sim will do their homework. I feel like 50% faster is a good amount of time. It gets them, you know, to get their homework done and still have other time to do other things. This will come in handy for another setting. All right, let's go back. Next up is Secret Society decay percent. So I don't really deal with Secret Society. The Secret Society decay percent is just how quickly or slowly you want your progress with the Secret Society to change. This is in the University pack. I have not played around with Secret Society, so I'm not exactly sure what in Secret Society. Like maybe it's your progress into becoming a part of the Secret Society, or it is your progress with maintaining relationships within the Secret Society. I have no idea, but it is an option here. So that way it will decay slower over time if you choose to have it be that way. The default is 100, which is the normal decay. Anything less than 100 is slower decay, and anything above 100 is faster decay. That's all that is. I'm gonna go back. If you have certain storylines surrounding the Secret Society, then you might want to go ahead and look at this. All right, next up is teens quit school. So I have this enabled because teens do quit school. Not very often anymore, but it does happen. And I might have a storyline where I don't want my teens to be in school. Maybe they go get a GED. Maybe I just want them to be a teen that has already finished school. So there you go. I recommend you have this enabled so you can just have a teen that can go to work. University difficulty adjustment. So we all know that the university pack can be very difficult. So this is for all my people who want to have fun in university instead of always doing homework all the freaking time. Yes, you will still have to do homework with this, but it will make it much easier for you to progress as far as keeping your grades up and everything. I have mine set to 1, but if you still want it to be a little bit easier to kind of get those promotions and grades and not kind of decline too fast, then go ahead and bump that up to like a 2 or a 3. That way you don't have to work too hard in the university with the university stuff, and you can kind of have a little bit more fun while playing around with the university pack, because the university pack is kind of hard. Next up is university homework progression. Again, this one is set to 5. That way it will be 50% faster when your sims are doing homework and projects for university. That will make your life so much easier, so that way you can spend more time with your sims partying, and finally maybe doing that Secret Society thing that I have not done yet, because it was always all my time was spent doing all the stupid homework stuff for this goddamn pack. So yeah, there you go. Let's go back, and that is pretty much it for MC career. So the thing that you might want to look at MC cleaner is the item cleaner, and then go to sync glasses. So if your sim has an outfit that includes glasses, then it will put the glasses on all your outfits except the bathing, sleeping, and swimming one, which kind of makes sense, you know? So I will go ahead and enable that if I were you, just to make it easier, so that way you don't have to put those glasses on all the outfits as you're creating that sim. So there you go. You may also look at sim cleaner and sync married names. This will just periodically sync up sims that are married that don't have the same last name to have the same last name. That's all. By default, it is enabled. There are some other settings that have to do with married last names and coming up, so you might want to go back and look at this depending on what you have your other settings as. All right, so let's go back. All right, so next up is MC clubs. So the first thing to be MC clubs is bypass played households, of course. By default, it is enabled, which is good. But you can increase your club member count all the way up to 50. I have mine set at 30, so that way I can have up to 30 members in any club that I create. Unfortunately, you're only allowed to invite members through interaction, so that means you have to talk to them and actually ask them to be in the club. So just be aware of that. Okay, so next up is maximum joinable clubs. And that's just the maximum amount of clubs that sims will be allowed to join. I feel like the default of 3 is enough, but if for some reason you have sims that need to join more than 3 clubs, then go ahead and you can change that value here. All right, monitor club members. So what this does is mccommandcenter will go ahead on scheduled nights and fill in any vacancies in clubs, and then remove any members that don't fit into those club rules. Like if you have only young adults are allowed to be in a club, then it will remove any elders or adults from that club. Like, say for instance, I have 30 members in my club. It will try to fill up the club up until 30 members within the club rules. So just be aware of that. I have mine set as disabled, but it's up to you if you want to enable that. If you do decide to enable it, next up is open members. And this is how many spots it will leave open when deciding to fill those vacancies in the club. So out of my 30 members, if I put monitor club members on, it will leave 5 spots vacant in the club. But for the most part, it would just leave 5 spaces open in any club in the Sims world. And that's pretty much it. So that way you can leave those spaces open if you need to. The maximum is 7 spaces open. But let's go back, and that is it for MC Club. So that way you don't have to download an extra mod to have more members in your clubs, because I honestly did it all the time, and then I realized MC Command Center had a thing for that. All right, so MC Dresser. MC Dresser kind of deserves its own video along with MC Cleaner. So we're gonna go ahead and only do like a couple things in here. The first thing that we want to look at is facial hair settings. You can choose for facial hair to automatically be added to a sim based on whatever age groups you choose here. So when your sim age up into a teen, they can have facial hair if you have this setting added. The default is only young adult. So I feel like these other ages should be able to have facial hair as an option as well. But it's up to you if you want to set that up. That's what I did. But yeah. And then with the % chance that you want these age groups to have facial hair, you have to change that because the default is 0. So I have mine set for 20% for teens, 30% for young adult, 30% for adult, and 30% for elders. If you want that to be higher in the age group, then go ahead and change that. Another thing I want to look at in MC Dresser is outfit settings, and then female and male career outfits. Well, female and male after career outfits. So basically, when your sim comes home from work, what type of outfit you want them to change into. So they'll change into the everyday uniform that I have it set as. I suggest you go ahead and click on everyday for this. Or whatever type of outfit you want them to change into. That way they won't be walking around in their uniform after work. They'll actually change into, you know, their house outfit. But we'll go over MC Dresser in another video. It's a lot of things that it can do. Next up is MC Occult. So first up is aliens. Now aliens and vampires have a lot of options, but we're gonna start with aliens. So in aliens, you have abduction pregnancy settings, and then abduction pregnancy %. So teen pregnancy %. How likely it is that you want a teen to become pregnant after an alien abduction? I left it at the default, which is 30. I think I left all of them at the default, which is 30. Yes, I did. But you can bump these numbers up if you want a higher % chance that these age groups will become pregnant after an alien abduction. All right, so we're gonna get out of there. And then next up is abduction pregnancy ages. So what age groups would you like to actually be able to become pregnant after an abduction? So if you change the percentage for teens, if you want them to be able to become pregnant, then you wanna go ahead and click on teens. The default does not have teens available to become pregnant after an abduction. Young adults and adults are the only things that are by default available. You can add elders to it if you like. As you can see, I did not add teens to it because I really don't want teens to be abducted and impregnated, but it's up to you. Abduction pregnancy genders. So what genders would you like to be able to become pregnant after an abduction? I have it as both female and male. Female is not clicked by default, so you have to go in here and make female an option to become impregnated by aliens. Next up is pollinator gender. So the alien that takes them and impregnates them, what gender would you like them to be? You can choose only one or both. Default is female. I went ahead and clicked on male as well, so that way it can be either one as far as the pollinator's gender. All right, and that is it for the abduction pregnancy settings. The next up is abduction settings. So what age would you like to be abducted? You can have infant all the way to elder to be abducted. As you can see, young adult, and elder are the defaults. I think I added on to it was teens. I feel like that would make a good storyline, and that a teen got abducted and like they kind of just messed up for the rest of their life after that. But it's up to you as to whether or not you want teens to be able to be abducted. Okay. Abduction frequency. So how often do you want abductions to occur in your game? So the default is the normal alien contact, which is the EA rules as far as alien visitation. Like usually if you're sim getting into contact with aliens, then they'll be abducted for EA rules. But the first one up here is alien invasions. It says you will get abducted a lot. Don't get comfortable in your home because you won't be there long. Which I thought was funny. So if you want to be your son to be abducted a lot, then hit on alien invasion. But yeah, you'll simply get abducted a lot if you want them to. High alien contact, which means that abductions occur more often than usual. Contacting aliens give a higher chance for abductions. So if you use the satellite to contact them or, you know, come in contact with aliens quite a bit, then this will cause you to be more than likely abducted. Then no alien contact, which means you can prevent abductions from happening through the satellite option. You have to do this anytime you start the game though. So that way your Sims will not be abducted at all. Most of the time, if you just stay away from aliens, you don't have to worry about being abducted. But if you have a career where you more than likely will come into contact with aliens, then you may want to have this prevent abductions option clicked if you don't want to be dealing with alien abductions. But it's up to you. Anyway, let's go back. So next up is abduction start time. So what time would you like abductions to start occurring in your game? So the default is at 10 p.m., which is 2200. I have mine set at 2000, which is 8 p.m. And so 8 p.m. is when the game will start running checks to start abducting Sims is at 8 p.m. That's all this is. You can set anything from 0 to 2300. All right. Next up is abduction time length. So how many hours do aliens have to abduct your Sims? The default is 6. I left it at the default of 6. I feel like 6 hours is enough time to get your Sims in if you want to abduct Sims. But you can set it for a long amount of time, maybe 12 hours, if you want them to be able to abduct Sims for a long amount of time. It's up to you. If you want them to have a shorter window to be able to abduct Sims, then make it shorter. That's all that is. Allow NPC abductions. So I have that enabled because I want them to be able to abduct NPCs. I would love to be walking around the world and just see a Sim just get snatched up off the street. Like, I would love to see that happen. That just seems like an entertaining day. But if you want that disabled, then keep it disabled. I went ahead and enabled it. I feel like that'll make the game more interesting. All right, next up is hours between abductions. So basically, it's just how many hours are allowed to pass before another abduction occurs. I want mine to happen every day at 8 p.m. So it's 24 hours. It must wait 24 hours to be able to do more abductions. You can have it set as 12 hours. So that means every 12 hours, abductions can occur. If that's what you would like, you have it set at every 8 hours, abductions can occur. Just keep in mind that you do have the abduction time length. So that means the number of hours they can be abducted. So just kind of keep those two things in mind when you're deciding how often abductions can occur and for what length of time they can occur. That's pretty much it for abduction settings. All right, next up is, do you want to force your alien to always be in their alien disguise when they go to a new lot? If you have like an alien invasion storyline, maybe you don't want them to be discovered. So you might want to go ahead and click it for them to always be forced in the alien disguise, except when they're on the alien homeworld. You know, that might make sense for your storyline. I'll keep it as none. I want them to be comfortable in whatever form they decide to be in. All right. So the maximum number of aliens, this is just how many aliens you want to be allowed to be born into your Sims world. -1 means there is no limit to how many aliens can be born. 50 is the maximum number of aliens that can be born in your Sims world at a time. I don't really mess with this. I don't really care about how many aliens is in the world, but if you don't like really having aliens around, maybe you want to bump that number down. So that way not as many aliens are born. It won't stop them from being generated though. It will just stop, more aliens from being set. So let's go back. All right. And then other pregnancy settings. So we're going to go with custom percentages because this is affected by, all this is enable what you set up for your custom percentages. So if you sit there and go through custom percentages, go ahead and enable this. And I'm going to show you what custom percentages are now. So this is the type of child that would be born between an alien or a hybrid, or the type of child that's going to be born between two hybrids, the type of child that will be born between an alien and a human, and the type of child that will be born between a hybrid and a human. So this is the percentages that they will be an alien or a hybrid if they're born between alien and hybrid parents. I have mine set at 85%. These values are what I have it set as. But you can set it as to whatever you like. It is set by default set to 0. So it's just going to be random as far as how they're born if you leave it at 0. But I have it set as 85% for alien and hybrid to have a likely alien child. For hybrid, I have it set at 50%. No, the percentages do not make sense, but that's the percentages I have it set as. You can set it however you like. For alien, between two hybrids, it's 78%. I have it set as for some reason, and I have it 100% between two hybrids. Does that make sense? No, that is how I have mine set, and you can set it however you like. For alien, I have it set at 35. For hybrid, I have 95% between an alien and a human. And then for a hybrid and a human, I have it set at alien 25%. And then for hybrid, 75%. And that's pretty much it. Why is human not an option between an alien, a hybrid, and a human? I don't know. But that's if you want them to actually be born of the occult and not just a human sim. All right, and that's pretty much it for aliens. Just make sure if you go ahead and mess with those custom percentages that you enable it here. All right. So we're gonna get out of aliens, and then next up is mermaids. All mermaids is forced mermaid form. Same thing for like forced alien form. If you want to force them into their mermaid form anytime they load up on a lot, you can do that. I don't see why you would want to do that, because I don't feel like they should be walking around on the tail. More than likely they'll be flopping around. So that's up to you, but don't do that. Same thing for maximum mermaids. How many you want to be born in the world? You can change that however you like. I leave it at the default, which is unlimited. Other pregnancy. So this is the pregnancy percentages. What's the likelihood that the child born between these type of sim will be, you know, whatever it is between those two. So between a mermaid and human, mermaid alien, and mermaid and vampire. I did not mess with the percentages for that. You can go ahead and do that if you would like. It is missing a couple of occults though, like the werewolves and stuff. I feel like a lot of these things were not updated for more recent occults. For older occults. You'll see what I mean when we get to vampires. Spellcasters. Spellcasters ain't really got much going on. It's just maximum and then other pregnancy settings. I'm not gonna go through this for every sim. I mean for every type of occult, because you can change the percentages however you like. So vampires. Aging maximum. This is about what life stage you want them to stop aging at. The default is young adult. I kept it at young adult, but if you want them to stop aging at teen or adult or elder, then go ahead and set it up that way. Like I said, I have mine set at a young adult, but maybe you want most of your vampires to be able to become elders. It's up to you as far as that. All right, next up is experience adjustment. So how easy would you like it to be for your vampires to gain experience? This adjustment is a little bit different. This one is actually from -10 to +10, with the +2 being 2 times faster, and with a -4 being like 4 times slower. So that's all that is. If you find it too hard to gain vampire experience, go ahead and bump this up. If you find it too easy, go ahead and bump it down. Some people have different experiences as far as how easy or difficult they find it gaining vampire experience. I would start with the 2 range either way, and then kind of bump it up from there, depending on how easy or difficult you want your game to be. I left it at 0, but it's up to you as to how easy or difficult you want it to be to become a master vampire. So basically, this is forcing the vampire's dark form anytime they go to another lot. I don't see why you would do that. I feel like they should not just be exposing themselves. But if you prefer your vampires to pretty much always be in their dark form, then you can have them be forced into it anytime they go to a new lot. But they can always just be in their dark form just by clicking on them. I don't see why you would use this setting. But it's up to you. Level on age up. So this works best if you use the age and maximum and have them be able to age up all the way to elder. If you don't have them be able to age up all the way to elder, then there's no point in having this, because what this does is anytime that your vampire ages up, they will gain a new level or new rank as a vampire. And it doesn't work if your vampire does stops aging at a young adult, then they'll be a low rank vampire always. But if you want a storyline where you must be an experienced vampire in order to become a master vampire, then I understand. You might want them to be like an elder and look like they have been around for a long time to become a master vampire. And if that's how you want your storyline to go, then you might want to enable it and have elders as an option. What's next? Oh, maximum number of vampires. You know what this is. Do you want to limit on how many vampires born? Then change this. That's all. Next up is the pregnancy settings for other occults. So this is what I was talking about earlier when I said this needs to be updated, because the only occults available are human and aliens. So I think Daredevil needs to go back and update these percentages for other occults. But most people are not gonna mess with this anyway, so I guess that's probably why it's never been updated. But the one I would suggest messing with is risky vampirism. All right, so anytime a vampire sim feeds on another sim, what's the chance that they will accidentally turn that sim into a vampire? So you can have it set up where that has the chance of occurring only with the creation power. By default, that is enabled. I have disabled it because I feel like if you have the creation power, you should be having the most control over whether or not you turn a sim into a vampire. So if you want it to be disabled, then go ahead and do that. And that way any vampire sim will have a chance of turning another sim into a vampire. All right. So the feeding percentages, so that's basically how likely that the vampire sim is likely to turn the sim is drinking from into a vampire performing any of these actions. So ask for permission to drink. So how likely are they to do it for ask for permission to drink? The default value is 0. I feel like you should not be turning the other stem into a vampire after you ask for permission to drink. I know that is accidental. I feel like that should be the lowest because you're not trying to drink everything from them. It should be a very low percentage that happens. So I'm gonna set mine to 2 and we're gonna hit okay. Compare for a small drink. Now I have it set for 15%. I'm gonna leave it at 50% for compare for a small drink. Compare for a deep drink. Now we're gonna bump this. I had it all up to 30%, but then I realized the MC Command Center can go overboard or something. So I'm gonna bump this down a little bit to 22%. And then drink uncontrollably, I have it set at 45%. I'm gonna bump this down to 30%. Just because I don't want the game to accidentally have a bunch of vampires walking around. But if you find that it's not happening quite enough for you, then you can go ahead and bump those numbers up. I feel like that is decent. I don't want MC Command Center to be having too many vampires be created. And this next setting will kind of help you figure this out. So this is vampire creation notification. So anytime that a sim is turned into a vampire through risky vampirism, it will give you a notification and that will let you kind of know if you need to adjust those numbers a little bit more. Like if you feel like it's happening too frequently, then you might want to go ahead and bump all those values down a little bit more. If you feel like it's happening not frequent enough, then you can bump them up a little bit more. So I will go ahead and I suggest that you have the vampire creation notification enabled. By default, it's disabled. So go ahead and enable it so that way you can kind of know if you need to adjust those percentages for risky vampirism. And that is it for vampires. Next occult is werewolves. And the only thing they have is the maximum werewolves that's allowed in the world. And then the pregnancy percentage with other occults. This one does have all the occults as of now. Because that was like one of the latest occults added into the game. So that's it for MC Occult. And that's pretty much it for today's video. So somewhere on the screen, be sure to click on the video and it'll be telling you how to save all these wonderful settings you just spent your sweet time on so that you hopefully will never have to touch these settings again and only need to make adjustments when needed. We should only have one more video after this though. So make sure you go ahead and subscribe and watch the other video if you have not. Anyway, thank you all for taking the time to watch this video. I hope you all take care of yourselves and until next time, bye.